How are you guys? Don't forget to leave a review and enjoy the story. Enjoy watching. The story begins. Ed sees tall buildings reaching up to the sky in front of him. He doesn't understand what they are. What is this view? All this happened in the morning when they left the house. Ed suddenly fell down. Maenya rushed to him, frightened, asking if he was okay. At that moment, Ed felt as if his legs had turned to jelly. But he apologized to Maenya and winked at her, saying that everything was fine. He suggested they hurry up and get to work before the other guys. Maenya was in a good mood that morning. She sang melodiously, cleaning, washing, drying. Washing, drying. Ed repeated after her. Maenya hangs up the laundry and says what a beautiful day it is. Ed, they have work to do today. Ed was washing clothes in a basin, remembering the morning and wondering what he might have seen when he fell. He is lost in thought, and at that moment Maenya asks him a question, to which he does not respond. Maenya asks again, Ed, what's wrong? Did you hit yourself? He responds inappropriately, no. Then she declares that Maenya will heal him. She slaps him while singing. Does it hurt? Does it hurt? Ed cries out in surprise and says he won't do it again. He understands everything. At this time, another customer pays for the work done, gives 3 copper coins, and leaves. Maenya actively shouts after him that he left extra money. Receiving no answer, she thanks him. Maenya and Ed go to the next customers, but they refuse, and the man says, oh, how annoying, letting these kids into the house again. Yeah, even though Maenya works hard, adds the woman. Talking among themselves, they clarify, are they children from the slums? The black-haired boy and girl. Ed hears this clearly, but Maenya takes him by the hand and says, let's go. Ed doesn't care what anyone says, but at least today he won't have to worry about food. Maenya and Ed head to a small shop where they buy food with the 3 coins they earned, including a bag of beans. Maenya is very happy with the food they were able to buy today and won't give it to anyone. Waving the bag of beans, they run happily towards home. Together, they have to do everything they can to survive. They return to their neighborhood, which consists of miserable, dilapidated 1-story buildings with no roads, where very poor people live. They walk to their house, and Maenya sings songs cheerfully in a good mood. The history of this neighborhood began 8 years ago. At that time, the city fell, and refugees were forced to settle outside the walls of Tri. The residents call this place REINCARNATED. Old people sitting near their houses and children playing carefree are a typical sight in this area. It seems that many people here hope to return to the city and live a happy life. Apparently, this is their goal in life. In 6 years, Ed has seen nothing outside this place. Soon Maenya and Ed approach a pole with a homemade sign that reads Melon Clinic. They're home, Maenya shouts. Another patient leaves their clinic, complaining about not having any money. Our hero's mother says that it's okay. Pay when you have the money. Everything is fine. Mom is very happy and greets them with the words, welcome back, Maenya and Ed. Maenya throws her arms around her mother's neck and says, Mom, you're home, and they did the laundry today. Mom praises them and says, well done. She is very happy that her children are back. Maenya continues to boast about the day's achievements, saying that they got 3 coins and also bought beans. Mom happily replies that they are useful and will cook them for dinner. She turns to Ed and says that he's also a good boy and tried hard. Ed confirms this, but he thinks to himself that this is his home, where he lives with his sister Maenya and his parents. The beans are cooked, and before dinner begins, they say, thank you, Mr. Laffer, for today's blessing. At the beginning of dinner, Mom announces that Dad will be late, so they will eat without him. Maenya wishes everyone bon appetit. Ed scoops up a spoonful and tastes the cooked beans. His face wrinkles. Mom reacts immediately, asking what's wrong. Ed, did you get bad bean? No, replaise mise. They taste normal, don't they? Maenya agrees. Ed thinks about it. Yes, the beans are cooked as usual, but the difference is he senses a flavor from some unknown past. Night falls. Mom and the children go to sleep on a shared makeshift bed made of ordinary hay. Ed can't sleep. He thinks and realizes that only now is he beginning to understand how terrible life is in this area. Maenya turns to him and hugs him. She wants to snuggle up close to her brother and warm herself with his heat. Ed responds by pulling his sister close and hugging her. He feels that he simply must escape this life. The next day, they wait and waste their time. Maenya says how annoying it is that there is no work today. Ed agrees with a heavy sigh. Maenya draws a plate of food on the ground and says she hopes her mother will be able to earn some money today. Everyone in their family loves people very much and cannot refuse to help. At one point, Maenya makes sounds as if she is eating. Ed asks her what she is doing. Maenya points to a cloud and says she is eating it, that it is big and they can eat their fill. Ed looks at his sister and becomes frightened for Maenya. He grabs his sister's hand, says he can't live like this anymore, and pulls her along. Ed says, let's go, Maenya. Where are we going? his sister asks. Ed takes his sister to a lawn on the outskirts of the village and starts looking for something in the grass. Maenya asks what happened and what he is doing. I'm picking wild flowers, Ed replies. Flowers? Maenya asks in surprise. MC says he is looking for grass that can be eaten. What? Maenya asks in surprise. Ed begins to explain that flowers can be edible. He, who lives next door, once ate too many of them. Did he know they were edible? Maenya asks. If you know which flowers you can eat, MC continues. The names of various plants, including flowers, begin to pop into his head. MC recalls that in his past life, he knew a lot, and despite how bad his current life is, he learned many useful things. Ed continues to crawl through the meadow, and at some point is overcome with joy. What is Ed? Asks Maenya, who is holding a beetle in her hand and listening to its buzzing. Ed holds a bunch of plants in his hand and says, these are crow's eye beans, an edible plant that needs to be fried. He understands this knowledge as the result of processing the information he has seen in his head, which means he has the ability of assessment magic. Ed shows these beans to Maenya, but she cannot see or understand anything. Ed is sure that his ability, the magic of assessment, is rather normal. He joyfully exclaims that all they have to do is try them and promises his sister that he will always gather this herb. She listens to him skeptically. Ed repeats once again that this herb is edible. Back home, Maenya asks again, are they really going to eat this herb? She holds the collected shoots in the hem of her dress. Couldn't it make us sick? Maenya worries. Ed assures her that she doesn't have to eat it. He will try it, and she will see that everything is fine. He begins to heat up a frying pan. Ed pours the shoots into the heated pan and recalls that young grains can be eaten whole. He takes some rock salt from his supplies and carefully chops off a small amount with a knife, adding it to the dish. MC understands that the conditions do not allow for complicated dishes. At the same time, he reasons that legumes contain many toxic substances and must be thoroughly cooked. At this time, the smell from the pan begins to spread throughout the kitchen. Maenya smells the aroma and this delicious smell. Her appetite is whetted, and she wants to try it. After a while, the dish is ready. Ed checks that everything has been done correctly. He begins to taste it. He takes the first sprout and bites into it. The taste is unusual. Maenya asks how it is. Ed thinks for a moment and replies that it's not bad, but it would be better with seasoning. The taste reminds him of peas. Maenya says that she wants to eat too. She can't resist and bites off a shoot. Immediately, she begins to complain that it is very bitter and grimaces. She tries another one and decides that despite the bitterness, it tastes good. Ed asks her to eat more slowly because there isn't much of this food. After finishing eating, Maenya asks if she can have more. Ed says that first they need to make sure it is completely safe and not overeat so they don't get sick. At that moment, there's a knock at the door and her mother enters, saying, Ed and Maenya, sorry, dinner is ready. Ed looks at his confused mother, holds his sleeping sister, and says that Maenya has eaten and fallen asleep. He wonders why he remembers his past life and where he got his strange magic from. He continues to think and believes that with this power, they will be able to live better, and he will definitely make Maenya happy. Now he feels confident. MC remembers that cold winter evening when Tamaria's mother said goodbye to him. She said, I'm sorry, Ed. I have to go. At that moment, there was horror in his eyes. But she said she was sorry. She couldn't stay with him. Mom, Ed said questioningly, his eyes filled with sadness and incomprehension. She continued, even if people say bad things about his dark hair, he shouldn't take those words to heart. And at that moment, his mother stroked his hair with her hands. With the words, if you have problems, sell this, Mom handed Ed a dagger sheath. The head of the family then turned to Tamaria and asked if she really intended to leave, while the whole family waited anxiously for her answer. She replied yes. Mom said goodbye, asking them to please take care of her son, turned around, and left. Tiny Ed was holding the dagger she had given him and couldn't say a word. Ed would remember his mother forever. It was a dream, and Ed woke up shouting, Maenya. She had woken up a little earlier and was playing around in bed. It was a normal work day, and the guard announced that there were no more jobs for today. Those who were free, go back to the slums, the guard says again and starts to kick everyone out. He announces that even if someone stays, nothing will come of it. At the same time, he says that black-haired people have no place here and tries to grab Ed by the hair. Ed manages to break free, scratches his head, and thinks it was an unpleasant moment. Meanwhile, a group of teenagers begin to brag to each other that they got the job. They show Ed a special stick that serves as a pass to work. Ed knows one of these guys, Harris. Ed turns to his sister and says, Let's go, Maenya. They won't find anything here. She replies, Yes, let's go. They start running towards the city gates. Harris watches them go and wonders who these guys are and why they are so stubborn. Ed and Maenya run out onto the meadow adjacent to the city and find themselves in their natural element. Maenya jumps for joy and shouts, "Gather, gather." She picks a bunch of plants and shouts, "Ed Crow's Eye." "Excellent, Maenya." Ed replies with a smile, folding his arms across his chest. He believes that now they will be able to gather a lot of food. Ed wants to test his abilities. Maenya, meanwhile, continues to enthusiastically pick flowers. Ed stands in the middle of the meadow and tries to activate his magical abilities to assess everything that grows around him. He uses magic and realizes that he can assess absolutely everything within his field of vision. At that moment, he grabs his head with his hand, feeling a sudden weakness. Ed feels the consequences of using magic. The more he uses it, the weaker he becomes. Maenya, his elf sister, runs up to him and asks what happened. The MC replies that right now, it's better to worry about food than magic. Maenya agrees. Ed analyzes the information again and realizes that there are many poisonous plants growing in the meadow, mixed with edible ones. That is why the people from the slums do not touch them. But it's not all bad. Ed sees plants that are edible and can be eaten without harm to health. Ed and Maenya sit down in the meadow. Ed picks up some flowers and says that these dandelions are edible. "Can we eat them?" asks Maenya. She is delighted that Ed knows everything. "Is it magic?" she asks. "What is it?" MC replies that it is assessment magic and that it is not actually difficult. Maenya happily declares that Ed is a cool hero who uses magic. MC wonders if she really understood everything he told her. He says it will be a secret between them, because even he doesn't fully understand the meaning of his abilities. Maenya replies that she understands everything. Ed solemnly announces that now they're going to pick edible flowers. "Great!" Maenya cheers. She starts rolling around in grass. Ed sees that there are many useful flowers in the meadow and starts picking them. He has already gathered wild garlic shoots and thinks that the only thing that can be obtained in the slums is rock salt, which would make their food tastier. With thoughts of needing to search more, he begins to gather more actively. "Ed, look here, look," Maenya calls him. "There's something strange looking there," she continues. Ed runs up to her. Maenya points and says, "How interesting." Ed says this. They return home and head straight for the kitchen. They lay out everything they managed to gather today on the table. Ed says that today they are one step ahead of their hungry stomachs and are looking forward to a delicious meal. "Yes," Maenya shouts joyfully. They raise their right hands in a fist, a symbol of their joint victory. Ed starts cooking, but there isn't even a knife in the house, so he takes out the knife his mother left him. Ed begins to finally chop the bean pods and does it quite deftly. Maenya is delighted and tells him he's cool. Does she really think so? Ed asks. He stirs the food in the pot and comments that it needs to be boiled to remove harmful alkali. The garlic needs to be chopped and the sauce prepared. Ed stirs the food in the pot and asks Maenya to help him. She happily agrees. He suggests adding more beans and sorting out the remaining herbs. She also actively begins to help. The head of the family returns home. From the doorway, he smells something delicious and asks if they are celebrating today. Everyone is happy to see him back, and Maenya excitedly shouts, "Welcome back, Dad!" The mother of the family sets the table and says she is surprised herself because the children prepared everything. She invites everyone to the table before the food gets cold. As usual, they say, "Thank you, La Frere, for your blessing," and wish each other bon appetit. They begin to sample the prepared dishes. Maenya tries the first course and shouts with delight. "What does this taste?" "It's amazing." The first course is fried wildflowers with flour sauce. A discussion of the prepared dishes begins. "Are these really wildflowers?" asks the father. "They have no smell," adds the mother. "The garlic sauce is the most delicious," says Ed. The second course is crow's eye beans. Maenya tries them and asks if they are very different from regular beans. Ed explains that he added peas and dandelion roots. It turns out crispy and quite tasty. Maenya rejoices. Mother wonders how he manages to create such delicious dishes using only rock salt and flowers. Ed picks up the soup tureen and says it's thanks to this. He offers them a taste. They all get a serving of soup and start tasting it. The third course is mushroom soup. Everyone is delighted with the taste. Ed explains that he boiled the mushrooms in bean broth and emphasizes that Maenya found the mushrooms. It turns out that wild plants can be used to make delicious dishes, concludes the father. Before this, they had completely different food, says the mother, and Maenya praises herself for participating in all this. She is eating such delicious food for the first time and asks to eat like this again. Maenya turns to her mother, but her mother apologizes, saying she can't, and looks at her daughter with regret. No, it's his fault. The father, who had been sitting silently until then, interjects. Ed joins the conversation and says everything is fine, Maenya. Now, they will be able to enjoy delicious food every day. Right, Guido Meln? He asks her father and mother. Exactly, Guido replies with a smile. Yes, Melon confirms. Guido says that, according to Maenya, Ed is their savior. She agrees, shouting enthusiastically Maenya. Ed just laughs. The next morning, Melon wishes everyone bon appetit. The whole family starts eating breakfast. Maenya can only repeat, delicious, delicious. Guido says he is happy that he can eat in the morning. Melon expresses his gratitude to Ed. He, in turn, is modest and says there is no need to thank him. Guido turns to MC and says that Ed is like his mother, Tamaria. She raised him well, as did his father. At this point, Maenya says she is finished. She is full and cannot eat anymore. Before that, her father apparently did not bring much food home, so she asks him to try harder. It's hard, her father replies sadly. Everyone laughs. At Maenya's house is a small dwelling with several rooms. The first room is at the entrance, and it is also organized as a hospital, the only medical facility in the slums. Maenya's mother treats patients there, often for free. In the bedroom, there's a bed made of straw, given to them by a farmer from the southern part of the city of Tri. A small corner of the room with peeling walls is set aside for the kitchen. Guido leaves for work, and as he leaves, he says, Ed, Maenya, gathering is fine, but don't go too far into the forest, it's dangerous. Maenya asks, Dad, work hard. Ed reminds Guido that he started talking about his father and asks him to continue the story. But Guido pretends not to understand. Ed and Maenya are back in the meadow. Maenya jumps happily and says, grass, grass. Ed sits and thinks. Until now, he hasn't cared about information about his parents. Maybe it's time to ask. At that moment, Maenya calls him. Look, she has picked lots of wildflowers. She says that today they will be able to eat beans again. Maenya asks Ed if he will feel better if they eat a lot. MC wonders if he really looks that bad. Maenya asks again, frightened, did she make a mistake? No. Thank you, Maenya, Ed replies and smiles, covering his mouth with his hand. MC thinks that he doesn't need to worry about his parents, whose whereabouts he doesn't know. Now Maenya and the others are his family. Ed looks at the plants Maenya has gathered and says that half of them are inedible. What? Asks Maenya in surprise. Meanwhile, at the hospital in the slums, Melon is treating an elderly patient who complains that her cough has returned and won't go away. Melon asks her to come closer. Melon places his hand on the patient's throat and performs magic. Later, she asks if she feels better. The patient replies that she does. Ed and Maenya return home happy. Melon tells the patient to come back if she feels worse. The patient expresses her gratitude. Ed overhears the conversation and asks why the woman has been coming in so often lately. The woman hears the question as she is leaving and explains that her throat has not been getting better for a long time. Ed decides to use his magical abilities and diagnoses her with bacterial pharyngitis. Melon says he can ease the pain with treatment, but the slums are not a suitable place to treat illnesses. It is difficult to do so here. Ed thinks about how to cure bacterial inflammation. If we were somewhere else, Melon continues, it could be cured with medicine. Sure enough, at that moment, Ed has a good idea. He prepares a special herbal tea mixture. Melon brings the cup closer and asks again, is it really tea? Why does it smell so strange? Asks Maenya, who is with them. It's herbal tea, Ed replies. He has selected and mixed herbs with antibacterial properties. Anti-what? Maenya asks. With healing properties, Ed continues, explaining that it is actually difficult to identify bacteria. MC says that these herbs are dried in the shade, so they don't spoil for a long time and can cure diseases, but not instantly. I understand, Maenya replies. Melon tries the herbal tea and says that she likes the refreshing taste of the drink. Ed agrees and says you can make a lot of it. Maenya asks her to let her try some. She wants some too. She takes a sip and grimaces, saying it has a strange, unpleasant taste. She wonders if it would be possible to make a sweet version for children. They give the medicinal broth to the patient, and after a while, her throat is healed. The woman comes to Melon and thanks her, saying that after drinking the broth, she feels much better. Melon says she is glad, but the real credit for this belongs not to her, but to Ed. During the conversation, Ed and Maenya stand behind the door, curtain eavesdropping. Ed comes out with a smile and says he just wanted to help. He offers to give the patient as much broth as she wants. She replies that she would like to take some, but cannot. Ed asks why. Because, the woman replies. She says she knows the taste of this broth. In her hometown, such herbs were very expensive. The following events happened by chance. Where are we going today, Ed? Maenya asks. To the Doridon store, he replies. Do you want to buy beans? She continues. No, we're doing something else today, replies MC. Ed has an idea. Preparing tea, there is no one else to collect it. It is a wild plant. He would never have thought that tea could be profitable. But first, it is worth checking if this is true. Ed and Maenya arrive at the store, which has a colorful sign at the entrance. But the store doors are closed. They look through the windows and knock on the door. The shop owner comes out to answer the knock, a young man with a scarf tied around his neck like a tie. He greets Ed and Maenya, saying it's been a long time since they last saw each other, and asking if everything is going well for them. Doridon asks Ed if he has come for beans again. Ed replies that he would like to ask something. Ask? Why him? Doridon asks. Ed continues, saying that there is no other store that serves children from the slums. He hands the shopkeeper a linen bag and asks him to estimate how much it might cost. Is it tea? Doridon asks. Did you make it yourselves? He continues to clarify. Ed replies, yes, and it's not fake. I see, says Doridon, scratching his chin with his hand, lost in thought. He invites the guys to come inside. They ask right inside. Doridon says he needs to consult with his wife. The guys sit down on chairs. Ed begins to wonder why Doridon decided to consult with his wife. Maenya is curious about everything. It's her first time inside the store, so she fidgets restlessly in her chair and looks around. Doridon and his wife pour a small amount of tea and brew it. They conduct a tasting. After a short while, Doridon returns and addresses Ed. The MC is all ears. Doridon suggests leaving the tea in the store and asks if that would be convenient. Ed agrees. Ed and Maenya are already at home, taking the dried tea leaves off the rope. Due to his short stature, Ed holds Maenya, who is standing on his shoulders, and she removes the tied bundles of leaves. Slowly, they move along. Ed thinks that if he hadn't found this tea, he wouldn't have tried it. How much could it really cost? This question also concerns him. Edear's voice is approaching. It's Ed. He works here, says Guido. Ed breaks free from Maenya, turns around, and is greeted by Mr. Doridon. MC asks in surprise why the gentleman is in the slums. Doridon starts a conversation. He wants to know more about the production of the product that Ed will be selling. Doridon looks up, examines the tea that is drying, and asks, is this how tea leaves grow? Yes, that's right, replies Maenya. Ed is confused. He wonders what his words mean. Will you? Doridon confirms that they heard correctly. He wants to sell their tea through himself, so he wants to buy it regularly. Does that mean, Ed picks up, that these tea leaves are expensive? Doridon says that he put a label on them and was able to start selling them to rich people, even with a hefty markup, because the taste is worth it. What's he talking about? Maenya asks. It's healthy tea. Guido joins the conversation. Merchants, as always, Ed thinks. Doridon explains that it all depends on the quality of the product. By giving out free samples, their store has gained a good reputation, and now nothing stands in their way. That's why he came to talk to Ed, explains the shop owner. He is interested in Ed's opinion. Will they be able to reach an agreement? Yes, replies the MC enthusiastically. Of course he agrees, says one. The deal is done, replies the other. They shake hands. Maenya puts her hands on their handshake and solemnly announces to everyone that the deal is valid. Ed asks Maenya to remove her hands, explaining that she shouldn't interfere with the handshake. Maenya shouts that she doesn't know what a handshake is. An argument ensues. Doridon calms everyone down. Maenya happily rushes to Guido and declares that everyone wants their tea. Doridon hands Ed a tied bag and asks him to take it. MC is confused. What is it? Ed and Maenya untie the bag, and there are coins inside. Doridon explains that these are past sales and prepayments for future orders. Ed and Maenya look at the coins and are simply shocked. At that moment, Maenya starts to panic, shouting that the gentleman is giving them counterfeit money. Why did she decide that? Doridon asks angrily. She screams that real money isn't that color. It should be brown. No, Maenya, it's silver, Ed interjects. He knows that Maenya has only seen copper coins before. Silver what? Maenya asks again. In fact, it's more than his salary, Guido says. As the head of the family, he is ashamed of his income. Another morning, Ed and Maenya arrive at Doridon's shop and greet each other. With the words, "This is the week's goods," Ed hands over the tea. Mr. Doridon takes it and begins to look at it. He thanks them for the goods. He says, "For your hard work," and hands over the coins tied in a bag. Ed is very happy. Maenya shouts with delight, "Money, money." They say goodbye and run out into the street. Someone calls out to Ed, "Wait, black-haired one." He turns around and sees Harris in front of him. Harris says he saw Ed leaving the store and wonders what he is buying if he doesn't work. Harris asks if Ed has money, doesn't he? Ed replies that he will never give him any money. The group surrounding Harris begins to approach, saying, "Come on, hurry up, give it here." A girl is sitting nearby on the street with a sign hanging from her chest that says, "Lighting a fire, 1 copper coin." She sees the situation that has developed on the street and realizes that these guys are about to start robbing people again. Information about Doridon's shop. The shop owner is a hereditary merchant of various goods in the city, who also supplies goods to Lord Tri. The shop owner's family comes from Eldania, so they sympathize with the slum dwellers, refugees from the city. A fight breaks out on the street. Harris is the first to hit Ed. Maenya is worried and yells, "Ed!" Harris shouts that he knows people with black hair bring bad luck. It is because of Ed that poverty has come to the slums. His friends cheer him on, telling him to beat Harris up. He's not so cocky now. Mean just screams, "No, Mom said black hair is just a myth." Harris grabs his throat and says that if he's wrong, let Ed prove otherwise. Ed restrains himself and looks Harris in the eyes. Harris can't stand that look. He can't hold back, yells that he doesn't like that look, and strikes again. "No," Mean just shouts. A girl runs up screaming, demanding that everyone stop. The fighters don't stop. At that moment, Ed recognizes the girl. It's Lania. Harris shouts that she has nothing to do with it. Lania replies that she certainly does. She says you can't attack one person with a crowd. If Ed doesn't fight back, then she'll hit him with fire. Lania continues. Harris thinks about it and realizes it's a problem. He tells his friends, "That's enough, let's go." Lania runs up to Ed and asks if he's okay. She continues that he should give credit where credit is due. Ed replies that he is not physically strong. At that moment, Maenya shouts, "Lania," and rushes to hug her. She thanks Lania for coming to her aid. Ed also thanks Lania, calling her their savior. But Lania asks them to stop and not exaggerate. Lania is the child of wizards. She is from the slums and was born into a family with a natural talent for magic. But she asked them to forget it. It was just a coincidence. She was passing by looking for work. A conversation begins between them. Maenya wonders if Lania is paid for the flame. She replies that it is a small income. Lania asks if they came to the store to buy beans. Ed replies that they weren't buying, but selling. They walk through the city together. Ed says, "Look," and shows Lania a coin. "It's silver," adds Maenya. "Where did you get that money?" Lania asks in surprise. "This." Ed leads them all to a meadow. He and Maenya start picking flowers. Lania says in surprise, "So that's what they do." She reflects that she never thought of picking wildflowers because her mother always buys food. Ed holds the bouquets he has already picked and says that the refugees in the slums are former city dwellers, so they are used to behaving this way. Lania wonders if it's dangerous. What with snakes and wolves? Ed thinks for a moment and says he hasn't encountered any yet. MC says that Guido's dad advised them not to stray far from the city. At that moment, Maenya shouts, "Look." She calls for them to come to her. "What is it, Maenya?" Ed asks. She shouts that she has found it again. "It's a mushroom." Ed and Lania run over. "What a strange shape," Lania marvels. "When you bite into it, it's soft and delicious," Maenya says. "No, wait," Ed says excitedly. He activates his magical abilities and determines that it is an East Asian fly agaric, which is poisonous. Ed says that unfortunately, it looks like that mushroom, but this one is poisonous. "What does that mean?" Maenya asks again. He picks up another mushroom and says that this one is edible. Maenya tells Lania that Ed is cool. They look the same, so how did Ed manage to tell them apart? Lania asks. He replies that he can see. She doesn't understand what he can see. Maenya joins the conversation, saying it's evaluative magic and that Ed has a mysterious power. He asks her not to tell anyone about it. Lania says she understands and laughs. Maenya rushes to the other mushrooms with a cry, "Ed, what about these?" He says these are no good either. Maenya rushes to the other mushrooms. "What about these?" "These are no good either." Ed continues. He picks up an unknown mushroom and says that Mr. Doridon said these can be sold for a good price, while Ed recalls how Doridon looked at these mushrooms appraisingly. "That's true," thinks Maenya. She says that if they sell well, they'll eat well. She runs happily and shouts, "Let's gather as many as we can for home." Lania notices her and says that Maenya is very excited. It's the thrill of the hunt, as if she were hunting for treasure, Maenya replies. Lania and Maenya carry the mushrooms they have gathered in the hems of their dresses, and Lania says Maenya and her friends are on a treasure hunt. This treasure will really bring their company money. And in their company is Ed, the wise man who knows everything. Lania is a fire mage, and she, Maenya, keeps shouting Maenya. But she sadly declares that she has no good abilities. "It's okay," says Lania. Ed reassures everyone that Maenya is fine. Maenya holds up a basket full of mushrooms and declares that they have gathered a lot. "That's enough," says Ed. "There will be a feast tonight," Maenya concludes. "A feast?" Lania asks in surprise. Maenya asks if she wants to have dinner together. Ed says it's time to go home and get everything ready. But which way should they go back? That is the question. They're standing deep in the forest, among centuries-old trees, where no human has ever set foot before. Ed sees many paths, but which one leads home? Maenya starts to panic. They don't know how to get back. Lania says she was completely absorbed in gathering, and now what should they do? Ed urges them to calm down and think. They will be able to find their way by the trees and their shadows. The day ends, and it starts to get dark in the forest. Ed points to one of the paths and says he thinks they came from there. Maienya is terrified. She starts acting scared. Ed asks what's wrong. She says she hears someone or something strange. There's a rustling of leaves in the darkness. Ed steps forward and declares that they must move quickly and carefully while staying together. He begins to move forward. Lania reaches out her hand and offers Maienya her hand. Maienya agrees. At that moment, a goblin monster was making its way through the forest to meet them. A goblin is a small, short creature with unusual skin color, pointed ears, a long nose, and sharp teeth resembling fangs. It has eyes without whites and sharp claws on its hands and feet. It carried a small axe in its hand. Ed was walking first, so he was the one who came face to face with this creature. The goblin sees the group and begins to growl, opening its fang mouth. Ed cries out in surprise. Maienya begins to scream in panic. The goblin grabs the axe, swings it, and tries to hit Ed. MC turns around in fear and yells at everyone to run. They all start to run away and lose all the gifts of nature they have collected along the way. The goblin catches up with them. He is already level with Ed, but ignores him and continues running. MC realizes that the goblin is quite fast and is primarily trying to catch the girls. He shouts, "How do you like that?" and throws himself at the goblin, wrapping his arms around its torso. Lania runs away, but shouts excitedly, "Ed!" Meanwhile, the goblin manages to throw Ed off and pins him to the ground with his hands around his neck. Lania stops and turns around, determined to save Ed. She uses her fire magic and directs a fiery flame at the goblin. "Cool," shouts Ed, who has been freed. Lania and Maienya are happy with the result. The goblin, burned by the flames, jumps aside, but he turns around again and launches a new attack. Ed sees that the goblin is very persistent. The goblin with the axe lunges at Ed. A knife appears in MC's hand. Ed manages to intercept the goblin's arm as it swings down to strike. Maienya rushes to his aid, shouting, "Ed!" Lania feels her strength fading. Ed yells that he doesn't want to die. Ed realizes that they cannot lose. He feels something happening, and suddenly his strength increases. What if he can win after all? Ed thinks. He manages to get the upper hand and delivers a devastating blow with his knife. The goblin lets out a terrifying howl and falls dead. Ed stands confused, not understanding the reason for his surge of strength. At this moment, in his baptism of fire, he manages to raise his status to the level of blessed. "Ed, are you okay?" Lania runs up, shouting. Maienya runs after her, shouting, "Ed!" Ed is confused, not understanding if he is okay. He turns to the girls and thanks them both for their help. Maienya replies that she didn't do anything. "Let's talk about it when we get home," Ed continues. He says that first they need to get out of this forest. Lania and Maienya see new goblins appearing behind Ed. There are already 3 of them. Ed turns around. They all see it together and are in shock. A little background. 8 years ago, monsters poured out of the demon realm. People fled from the hordes of monsters through the northern city of the kingdom of Melria. Eldania found itself in the path of the horde. Eldania's misfortunes did not end there. At that time, Melria was in a state of political instability. Fearing civil war, the feudal lords did not dare to send troops. The inhabitants found themselves surrounded by monsters, alone and without help. The only option for the inhabitants of Eldania was to destroy the city and flee. That's what they thought as they left their homes. If you look at the map, you can see that Eldania is located in the north of the country, in the center of the mountains. To the north are the Hellhorn Mountain Ranges and Titania, the Sacred Land. To the west is an unexplored land filled with miasma. To the south, along the Elder River, lies Tri, the city where Ed lives, with its strong walls ready to defend against monster attacks. Further south, along the Melria River, lies the royal capital of Militia. Meanwhile, in the forest, Ed and his companions see 3 goblins in front of them. He thinks about it and decides that the situation is bad. Ed turns to the girls and tells them that he will distract the goblins, and they should run away and not look back at him. The goblins growl in unison. Ed pulls out his knife and gives the command to run. The girls scream, "Ed," and try to run but look back. Ed rushes at the goblins with his knife. And at that moment, with a wild growl, the goblins fall down dead. Ed is confused. He doesn't understand what happened. He hears a voice saying, "Children shouldn't go into the forest alone." A young man appears just in time. He asks if the children are hurt. He thanks the kids, saying they were a great help. His companions also thank the kids. Ed recognizes Guido among the group of rescuers and greets him. Maienya starts shouting happily, "Father!" Guido says that this is why he warned them not to leave the city, because they almost lost their lives. Do they even understand that? He asks the children and takes a deep breath to calm himself. The children stand there, very frightened and feeling guilty. Guido leans toward them and hugs Ed and Maenya around the shoulders. He says they scared him a lot. He's sorry that this happened, but he's glad they're safe now. I'm sorry, Dad. Maenya says. It's okay, she says. They stand near the goblin corpses, and the guild leader explains that they were actually very lucky, as he and his companions were also following the goblin's trail. They were hunting goblins? Asks Lania in surprise. The guild leader explains that they were monitoring the monster's activities. They're a guild of adventurers, and this mission was ordered by the Lord. Maenya grabs Guido's sleeve and asks if her father was working. Yes, he replies. Guido begins to tell a story that happened before they were born. It is a story about a stampede in Eldania. The man who managed to escape founded a slum. Ed joins the conversation. Yes, that's true. The elder confirms. These creatures can destroy an entire city. He says as he looks at the corpse of a goblin lying on the ground. That's why the Lord is watching them, adds one of the young guild members. Ed wonders if the situation has improved now. How many bodies are there? The senior asks the adventurers. 2 killed, replies the same young man from the guild. Then one behind me, commands the senior. The senior turns around and leaves. Maenya shouts after him. Ed can help too. He stops and asks what? Ed explains that the 3 of them participated in the battle with the goblin. The leader does not believe him and asks again. They? Really? They approach the place where the goblin is. The senior says he understands everything and asks the children to stay behind. He takes out a dagger. What is he doing? Maenya asks. He moves closer to the goblin and finishes it off with a blow from the dagger. Something strange begins to seep out of the goblin. What is it? asks Ed. It's miasma. Monsters emit poisonous miasma, explains Guido, who is standing nearby. It can be dangerous and will take a long time to wash off, but it's better not to get close to them, he continues. That is why, even after 8 years, the refugees cannot return to Eldania because the miasma brought by the horde is still corroding the city, Guido concludes. At that moment, the elder reaches back and says, Ed, take this. Be careful. It's better not to touch it with your bare hands, he continues. Ed takes a stone with a complex geometric shape that is smoking through the fabric. He sees it, a magic stone, which uses purified magic crystals and magic items as sources of energy. Is this okay? Ed asks. The young adventurer replies that they defeated them, so it's theirs to keep. He adds that when they sell it, they will get a good profit. Not a bad addition to the adventure? He asks. Yes, Ed agrees. They are about to leave, saying that the slugs will finish the rest. Okay, little travelers, let's go back to town, says Guido. They leave. Lania asks Ed to wait. He turns around and waits for her. When they're side by side, Ed starts a conversation. He apologizes for today, saying that he invited her and ended up putting her in danger. No, it's okay, Lania replies. She says she wants to apologize. Ed doesn't understand why. She had previously thought that Ed couldn't stand up for himself, but in reality, he turned out to be different. She continues, saying that Ed turned out to be a brave man who stood up to the monsters. Lania takes his hand, looks him straight in the eyes, and asks for forgiveness. He and Maenya protected her. Thank you, says Lania, squeezing Ed's hand tighter. With a cry of wow, Maenya runs out of the forest and sees the city walls in the distance. They're finally back, she shouts joyfully. Yes, it was a long day, says Ed. Everyone rejoices. Ed, Lania, Maenya listen for a moment, says Guido, who is walking behind them. The children stop and turn to him. Guido continues, saying he doesn't want to put them in danger, but he continues sadly. He is sure that he will not be able to dissuade them from going into the forest for food. The reasons why they are poor lie in the fact that the adults themselves do not go there, and besides, as long as they live within the walls, the danger of monsters is inevitable, says Guido. He thinks about this and wants the children to learn how to defend themselves. The children listen to him with their mouths open. First of all, there is a desire to learn how to avoid danger with the use of a knife. The young adventurer turns to Ed with a proposal to organize this. And then, with a smile, the adventurer asks to share the delicious mushroom he picked up on the way back. Guido turns to Maenya and says that it's time to learn magic. What? She asks. He continues that her mother will explain it to her, that it is necessary so that when Ed and Lania are in danger, she will be able to help them. Maenya is confused. She's not sure if she can do it. She does not particularly want to learn. Lania says that it's okay. Maenya, they use magic too. Don't worry, Ed encourages her. Ed scans Maenya and sees that she has magical talent. He guarantees it. Really? Maenya asks again. Yes, Ed replies. Really? She asks again. Yes, really. He confirms. So if Ed says so, she'll try her best. Maenya exclaims and raises her right hand. Everyone stands behind her and is very happy about this. Upon returning to the city, the young adventurer leads Ed and company to the Tri-Adventure Guild. They stop at the entrance to the building, above which hangs the guild's coat of arms. They are interested in whether outsiders are allowed to enter. The adventurer replies that of course they are. He adds that they're always looking for new adventurers. He asks them to come in, especially since this is a rare opportunity for them. Maya shouts yes. They begin to enter the room, and Lania asks Ed not to lag behind. The Adventurers Guild is a semi-professional organization that provides work for adventurers living in the field with the support of Lord Tri. The guild's premises consist of 2 floors. The upper floor, which is reached by climbing the stairs, houses the reception area. People come here to receive quest requests, buy special items, and appraise artifacts. To the right of the receptionist's desk is a bulletin board. It contains information about requests, from everyday work to battles with monsters. Currently, most of the work is related to the Eldania reconstruction projects. On the first floor, there is a counter for repairing and selling various items, weapons, armor, and other items. It is located along the right wall of the room. Along the left wall is a bar counter. Here you can buy large portions of rice for stamina and cheap alcohol, which is the main attraction of this place. In the center of the hall are tables and benches for visitors. The events are moved back half an hour. You cannot buy magic stones from them, says the stranger to whom Ed and company were brought by the young adventurer. The adventurer explains that his acquaintance has his own sales channel because he communicates outside the city. The adventurer is interested in whether the guild is this channel. The stranger asks why they don't contact them directly, and he offered to take the children directly to the guild. That evening, the guild was noisy. Among the visitors is the leader of a group of goblin hunters. The visitors are actively chatting and drinking beer. When Ed and company entered the room, none of the visitors paid any attention to them. Standing in the center of the hall, Lania asked loudly if they could sell the magic stone here. That's right, added the adventurer. Maya said it smelled strange. She realized there was a strong smell of alcohol in the room. Ed is very excited. Lania asks why he is so worried. Ed tilts his head and wraps his arms around her, saying he's a little nervous because there are a lot of strangers here. At that moment, he remembers the shouts that he has black hair, that he is an unfortunate child, that he will bring misfortune, and that he should not come near. What else can you say? The MC boldly replies. Lania approaches Ed and asks him not to be discouraged, saying that everything is fine and she is with him. I understand, Ed replies. A voice is heard. Who is it? A physically strong, experienced adventurer with a beard and mustache appears before the children. His clothes reveal a strong body with well-developed muscles. He asks who they are and why children from the slums are in this place. Ed and Lania look at each other in confusion. He adds, this is rare. Why does the boy have black hair? At this question, Ed clutches his head in his hands, while Lania utters in fear, they are. At this moment, Maya holds out her hand, in which she is holding the stone, and says loudly that she and the others have come to sell the magic stone. What? A magic stone? Is this a magic stone? Says the man. Are you kidding? He adds. Then the accompanying adventurer joins the conversation, saying that it's true, these children defeated the goblin. The other visitors look at the children and begin to talk among themselves. One asks another if he has heard that the children defeated a goblin. They are younger than his child, says the third visitor. The adventurers quietly surround the children and say together that they are so cool. They ask how they did it. Maya begins to explain that Lania is skilled in magic and Ed is skilled with a sword. A little girl is skilled in magic? Another visitor asks in surprise. The crowd begins to say that they are so small, yet they do great things. They ask permission to touch Ed's hair and begin to do so. All the adventurers fill their glasses with beer, and the bearded adventurer lifts Ed onto his shoulder and says, "What's it like to slay monsters at such a young age? This kid is a future hero." He continues, "This kid is no different from us. To the health of the little hero." And everyone begins to chant, "To his health." Ed sits on his shoulder, apologizes, and asks the adventurer if he thinks it's strange that he mentioned black hair. Black hair? The man repeats and thinks for a moment. No, he meant that it's rare. The kobold, standing nearby, holding a mug of beer, says that in Melria, bad people have black hair, historically speaking. The man holds Ed on his shoulder and turns around, asking him to look around. He says there are elves, gnomes, giants, dwarves, reusins, bakuzins, and people of all kind around. The man continues, saying that it is impossible to say anything about the appearance of those around them. But Ed thinks that the inner world of everyone around them is influenced by the color of their hair. The kobold sitting next to him says that if black hair brings bad luck, how much luckier are the others than him? After these words, the man laughs loudly. Lania runs up and addresses Ed. She tells him there is no need to worry. Okay, idagres. The old adventurer informs them that magical stones are sold here, and they should ask for details at the counter on the second floor. They thank him for the tip. But be careful, he warns them. Ed and company run up the stairs. The adventurer shouts after them not to worry when they meet his sister. Okay, they reply. Lania asks Ed if the man scared him much. Not really, Ed replies. They don't understand how it happened. They run to the top of the stairs and hear a conversation. A woman tells a man that any procedural violations are his problem. She says she gets angry when she talks about his responsibilities in this job. The man turns around and runs down the stairs shouting. He hears her say that she is very sorry. The children are met by a young blonde elf with glasses and a stern look. She asks them what they want. The children are frightened, apologize, turn around, and try to run away, shouting, "Let's go." The blonde woman shouts after them to stop. She asks them if they're the children who are making noise on the first floor. Is she an elf? The girl asks Mainya. The girl looks at Mainya and says that only a pure-blooded elf could have such a face and hair. Ed and Lania are frightened and don't understand anything. What does this blonde have to do with Mainya? Ed and Lania wonder. An elderly male elf approaches them from behind. He has a bald head, a gray mustache, and a long beard, and wears a monocle on his nose. He strokes his beard and says that elves usually value pure bloodlines. The young people ask him who he is. He replies that he sells his knowledge to the guild and is something of an appraiser. Lania says she has heard of him, that in the elven country in the north, they are required to keep their pedigree. Our administrator is from the north, says the old man. She is 70% pure-blooded, and as a person of mixed race, she is lucky to work as a secretary. The blonde woman turns to Mainya and asks what they have decided to sell. Ed asks if Mainya's family tree goes back to the old elves. The old elf replies that he is more than sure of it. He continues that he is interested in everything from the young lady to the black-haired boy. What? Ed shouts and grabs his hair. The old man ruffles his hair and tells him not to worry. He's not going to cause him any trouble because he's a child of misfortune. The old elf asks the MC what his name is. He replies, Ed. Where was he born? Where are his parents from? The old man continues to ask. Ed replies that for as long as he can remember, he has lived in the slums and his parents left, and he doesn't finish his sentence. The old man continues to ask about the origin of his black hair. Doesn't he know? I don't know, Ed replies. Then the old man tenses up and says, let me tell you something, black-haired boy. The tale of the black-haired child who brought misfortune is not a myth. It is based on historical facts. The old man continues, however, this is not a story about black hair bringing misfortune. Long ago, people started a war because of a man with black hair. The greed of those around him led to disaster. It is a very complicated story. Ed and Lania stand and listen attentively to the old man. At that moment, the blonde woman shouts, excuse me, Mr. Hophelm, she would like you to appraise the magic stone. Mainya stands next to her, holding the very same magic stone in her hands. Mr. Hophelm ends his conversation with Ed with the words, well, boy, be careful. Hophelm thinks that even without the curse of black hair, anyone can become evil. Mainya runs joyfully down the stairs and shouts that they have sold it and now have 5 silver coins. Ed tries to make sense of everything the old elf has told him and slows down a little. Mainya shouts at him, Ed, why are you lagging behind? Ed apologizes and catches up with the girls. The old elf calls out to a blonde girl named Miclasia. She approaches and asks what Mr. Hophelm wants. He asks her to send a message to the Lord. Miclasia asks what he wants her to say. Hophelm stands and watches as Ed, who is very happy, leaves the guild. He asks her to convey that he found a black-haired boy in the slums of Tri. And that's all. The events move to the center of Tri. A messenger arrives at the palace of Lord Tri, which is a well-fortified, multi-story building located in a safe area of the city and accessed by a long staircase. He is met by Lord Thomas Beckenbauer. Upon meeting, the Lord asks if the messenger is from the Adventure Guild. He then asks him to report. The messenger delivers the message. A black-haired boy from the slums has been found. The Lord listens to the message and thinks. He asks again, what? A black-haired man in the city? In the doorway, behind the curtain, a girl accidentally overhears the conversation. She thinks about what she has heard. That black hair was in an old fairy tale. The city of Tri. It is a fortified city built to protect against monsters from the north. It is divided into separate districts. The Tri Castle district is the residence of Count Beckenbauer, located on a small hill in the center. The new town is an area that was expanded in later years for traveling merchants heading to Eldania. It currently thrives as a base for adventurers hunting monsters. On the side bordering the demon realm, high castle walls have been erected. Refugees are only allowed access to the dangerous territory north of the wall, the slums, Rainierta district. To the south, across the river, lies a rich mountainous area of farmland that provides food for the population. Meanwhile, Mainya is training in magic. She shouts, I can do it, healing. Lania, who is standing nearby, exclaims in surprise, it's healed. Maenya has a talent for magic, adds Ed, who is also nearby. Are you sure about that? Asks Lania. Maenya is euphoric about what she has achieved and exclaims, just think, their team consists of the wise Ed, the magician Lania, and Maenya, the healer who can cure anything. She continues to shout. Maenya still wants to learn how to heal and tries to strike Ed, who is standing nearby. He says no and dodges the blow. Lania looks into the basket of mushrooms and says that they have gathered very little today. It is unclear why. Ed says there are traces here that indicate that someone has already been gathering here. Maybe someone found out about their trips and decided to do the same? Maenya wonders. So they're stealing their food? Lania says. Ed replies that wild plants in the field don't belong to anyone, but it's better to worry about something else. He adds that the problem may be that the person may not know which plants are edible and may pick poisonous ones. He imagines how someone might force their children to eat poisonous mushrooms, following his example. But Ed hopes that in case of poisoning, Melon will be able to handle the problem. Lania holds a half-empty basket and says that in any case, they have gathered very little. We need to gather more, adds Maenya. Yes, Ed decides. They rush off in search, with Maenya running ahead and singing songs along the way. After a while, a sheer cliff blocks their path. They realize it's a dead end. They examine the place. Lania says that it is impossible to climb up. Ed suggests turning back, but Maenya asks everyone to look at a narrow crack in the rock. She looks inside and says there is a passageway. It's small, Ed adds. What does this passage lead? Maenya asks. She dives into the crack and shouts, come on, there might be treasure in there. Ed tries to stop her. He shouts into the darkness, Maenya, there's nothing there anyway. She replies that it's dark and she can't see anything. Lania declares that they have no choice anyway. They all climb into the pitch darkness. Lania uses her magic and lights a fire on her hand. The passage becomes brighter. Maenya thanks her for that. The passage is quite long, and they call out to Ed, who is lagging behind. Ed crawls forward and thinks the main thing is not to run into monsters. Maenya crawls first and is sure that the treasures will not run away from them. Lania sees a beam of light in the distance and wonders if it is the exit. Maenya says it is most likely. She is very curious to see what they will find there. Let's hope we don't run into any monsters, whispers Ed, who is bringing up the rear. They come out and are greeted by a beautiful view and a tree with unusual fruits. What a big nut, says Maenya. No, it's an apple, it's edible, says Ed. But it's in such a place, it's probably wild. Maenya picks up the fruit, turns it in her hands, and wonders about the name, an apple? Why don't you try it? Asks Lania. Is this Maenya's first time eating fruit? Ed wonders. She begins to bite into the fruit. Maenya is surprised by the taste of the apple. She shouts with delight. This taste is delicious. This taste can be called sweet, adds Ed. They approach a nearby bush. Lania asks if it is edible too. Maenya says that she has never seen such nuts before. Ed says let's see and declares that they are raspberries and edible. The girls happily begin to feast on the berries. They all sit together on the cliff and eat the delicious berries and fruits. Ed and Lania say that they must thank Maenya for everything. This place is like paradise, adds Lania. It's definitely a treasure, adds Ed. He reflects that trees grow inside the rocks that are unlike those outside. It is literally a fruit paradise. Ed continues, saying that the only way here is through a small passage in the rock that only children can crawl through, which is why no one has found this place yet. Then it will be a secret place for the three of us. Maenya exclaims. Ed begins to stroke Maenya's head and says that it's all thanks to her curiosity. Maenya laughs quietly. Suddenly, she asks how much Doridon will pay for them. Lania says that, according to her mother, Doridon hasn't sold much fruit since Aldania was destroyed. Is that true? They must be expensive, Ed says. He looks at the fruit he is eating and sees, using his assessment skills, that the apple is already starting to spoil. Ed says that, judging by the fruit, the ripening period has already passed and they may not be able to sell the fruit in time. So it's a waste of time? Maenya asks. Ed replies that he doesn't want to waste his energy for nothing. But then he has an idea. He shouts yes. And they head home. And now they are home. They enter the house. Lania enters first and sees her mother. Mom welcomes them all back. Lania asks why her mother came. Her mother explains that Melon is busy at the hospital, so she came to help. She thanks Ed and Maenya for being friends and picking mushrooms together, which is a big help to them. Ed and Maenya say there's no need to thank them. Mom asks if they found anything good today. Yes, Maenya shouts. Ed shows her the basket and says that they have picked a lot of fruit today and need to make jam out of it before it goes bad. Jam? Maenya asks again. Ed explains that boiling fruit prevents bacteria from growing. Wait, what? Mayenya doesn't understand what he means and asks again. Ed briefly explains that they will do this so that the fruit doesn't rot quickly. He thinks that it would be good to add sugar to the jam, as it's unlikely to work without sugar. Mom intervenes in the conversation and suggests using honey instead of sugar. Exactly, Ed agrees. Mom continues, saying that honey should be sold nearby. She used to collect it every year and sell it wholesale and try in other cities. Lania is excited to hear that her mother made jam. Yes, she replies, when she lived in Aldania. Ed asks for her help, since it's their first time making jam. Mom gladly agrees. Ed shouts thank you and says they're going to Mr. Dordan's for honey, and they all run off together. Mom asks them not to forget the container. They promise not to forget. At Dordan's shop, they take the necessary amount of honey and also agree to sell the jam. Then they go to their secret place, where they pick more fruit and return home with baskets full of berries and fruit. Once home, they begin the process of making jam. They put the first pot of fruit on the stove. Mayenya quickly asks to taste it, but Ed explains that this is the disinfection stage, and it is not yet ready to be tasted. While the first batch of jam is cooking, Ed and Lania are busy cleaning the next batch of apples. Mayenya gets in the way and asks to be allowed to help with the cleaning, but Lania refuses because she might hurt herself. Lania's mother stirs the almost finished jam in the pot. Lania, who is standing nearby, inhales the aroma and says it smells delicious. Is it done yet? Asks Mayenya, who is also nearby. Ed replies, just a little longer. After a short while, Mom asks if they want to try some. They all taste the finished jam and shout in unison, sweet. Lania says that there isn't much jam, but it's very delicious. The jam is amazing, adds Ed. It will sell out quickly. Mayenya declares confidently. They take the finished jam to Dordan's store. He gladly agrees to buy it. Doridon says that jam has not been on sale since the destruction of Aldania, and that there will be many people willing to buy it. Ed and company are very happy about this. After a while, Ed and company come to the store to settle the bill for the goods delivered. The batch of jam turned out to be small. The quantity was limited. Doridon expresses regret about the small amount of product. He would like more. Ed says that they will not be able to harvest new apples until next year. Doridon explains that after deducting the cost of the containers and honey, he paid for them, and there is money left over, which he pays to them. Doridon hands him a bag of coins. Mayenya takes the bag and, judging by its weight, thinks it is rather small. Lania says this is because the cost of the honey was rather high. Doridon asks them again if they are sure about the small amount of money they received. They return home and open the bag they received. The coins inside turn out to be gold. Ed immediately wonders what to do with such money. Is it really that unusual? Lania begins to ponder this question. Melon's mother says that they can buy a lot of beans with this money. Mayenya replies that they won't be able to eat that much, and she feels sick at the thought. Lania gives the coin to her mother and asks for help. But Mom refuses to take the coin. She says she is proud of all of them. This money was earned through the efforts of all the children, she continues. Melon's mother asks for time to think and decide. After a while, both mothers turn to the children and suggest that they spend the money on whatever they want. And if they don't know what they want, they can give them some advice. They don't have to buy anything right away. The main thing is to be aware of it. So they suggest that the children think about it themselves. All the children go away to think, and they talk among themselves. Ed says that there is nothing good about life in the slums, and he is not sure he wants to spend all the money. Lania says that she wants too many things, which is her problem. Ed reflects that their funds are limited after all, and they need to make the best choice. He thinks maybe they should invest in another world. Lania asks Mayenya what she wants. Mayenya replies that she wants to eat something delicious. As always, she's honest. Ed and Lania think together without consulting each other. Ed suggests visiting a restaurant to recharge their batteries. Lania doesn't quite agree with this. Mayenya reflects that since Ed started taking them out to find food, they have always eaten well. She says she always wants to eat delicious food with them, and that thought never leaves her mind. Ed says he feels the same way. Lania also agrees with this opinion. Then they decide to invest in themselves and ensure their safety while gathering plants. And so they stand at the entrance to the Adventurers Guild. They are asked if they're sure they want to spend their money this way. The guys answer in unison, yes. They go inside and start shopping. First, Ed buys himself an adventure set backpack, which includes a small sword, +3, with a fast blade and a backpack made of thick fabric. Mayenya buys a short light mage's staff. Lania buys a black mage's staff. Together, the girls buy noble clothing, +2, made of the same leather fabric. Mayenya also buys an elven dress. The adventurers present note that they have made the right choice and that the clothes suit them well. The guild merchant adds that the purchases suit them very well and they look like seasoned adventurers. In response, they say that starting today, they're going on an adventure. They shout in unison, "We're off. See you later," and begin to leave the guild. At that moment, they hear a voice behind them asking them to wait a moment. They stop and turn around. In front of them stands a girl with long hair braided into two symmetrical bows, dressed in an aristocratic dress. The girl begins to ask Ed if he is the black-haired boy. Is he really here? Eleanor asks again and laughs. Eleanor comes closer and begins to speak. Surprisingly, it is true that there is a black-haired boy here. Ed is frightened by these words. He remembers when they were walking down the street together. The girl who was going to the meeting said that black-haired people bring bad luck, and people combine their fear and strength to chase away the hated child. The girl continues to say that he was bullied, saying such things, judging by his fear. Ed became even more frightened. He thinks she will blame him, but she is not so stupid as to take these fairy tales seriously, the girl continues. She says that there are various theories about the origin of the lie. It is based on malicious rumors about black-haired people. She heard that this is what happened. There is nothing funnier than being deceived by such a fairy tale, the girl continues. So why did you call him? Ed asks. The girl notes the rude treatment and says she couldn't help but ask about the black hair. She asks if, according to rumors, there's a Doridon store somewhere around here, and if they know where it is. The northwestern region of the kingdom of Melria, including the capital Tri, is ruled by the Beckenbauer family. The family consists of Lord Thomas, his wife Countess Cassie, their eldest daughter Marielle, and their youngest daughter Eleanor. 2 days ago, there was a dinner at the Lord's estate, attended by all the family members. When the Lord tried a sweet sandwich during tea, he noticed the apple jam served at the table. The Lord asked the butler where he had bought it. The butler replied that it was from Doridon's, a shop in town. Is that the shop where I bought some delicious tea the other day? Asked the Lord. At that moment, Eleanor stuck a spoon into the jam jar and asked in surprise, "What is this?" "Soft and sticky," Marielle added. The Lord laughed jokingly and asked her if it was her first time trying jam. He remembered that Eleanor was born after the destruction of Eldania, and the destruction happened more than 8 years ago. When Mari made new jam sandwiches, she said you couldn't help but love it. It was so delicious. Eleanor didn't understand at first, but then they enjoyed the taste together. The jam quickly ran out, and Eleanor freaked out because her dad had kept quiet about such a yummy product. The Lord asked for more, but the butler said that was all there was. Then the Lord asked again where the jam had been bought. He was told that it was from the Doridon store. Let's return to the situation with the children. Ed and company hear the question and say that they know where Doridon's store is and offer to take them there. The girl happily shouts that they have helped her because it is her first time here. She says her name is Eleanor. Maenya replies, "So you're ELE, and I'm Maenya. Nice to meet you." At this moment, passers-by begin to pay attention to them. Voices begin to be heard. "Isn't that Mrs. Eleanor? I don't believe it. Why is she in a place like this?" Ed can't understand. Are the townspeople looking so intently at them, or just at this girl? "That's for sure," says Lania. Lania says that Eleanor's clothes are very beautiful. She looks like a princess. Eleanor hears these words and quietly says that there is nothing special about her clothes. Maenya starts shouting that she also has new clothes and everything is fine. Ed notices that even if they are secondhand clothes, they suit her. Yes, Lania agrees. Eleanor turns around and says that she thinks it's cute and wonderful and that Maenya looks great. "Is that true, Ili?" Maenya runs up to her with a question. She's not lying. It's true, Eleanor replies. With a shout of hooray, Eleanor runs to the store entrance when she sees it. Lania looks after her and says that ELE is a kind, honest, and good girl. Ed agrees with her. Maenya runs up to the store door, points to the sign, and shouts, "It's here." Eleanor rushes into the store and runs to the counter, saying, "Excuse me." The shop owner and employee are confused when they see the princess standing in front of them. She asks who the owner is and if they sell apple jam. She would like them to give it to her as a gift. Doridon calls Ed over. He asks why Ed is with this girl. Ed is puzzled and says that she just asked him how to get to their store. Doridon asks Ed if he doesn't know who this girl is. Doridon asks Ed if they're here incognito and why. ELE, he continues to call the salesman. Doridon promises to come soon. He approaches and explains to the young lady that they had jam. ELE asks for some jam. Doridon continues, saying that unfortunately, it has sold out because it is very popular. How is that possible? "It does need to believe it," she exclaims indignantly. "Does that mean I won't be able to eat it anymore?" Maenya, standing behind her, asks, "Does ELE really want jam?" She explains that if she wants some, they have it at home. Lania is worried that Maenya will give away all the remaining jam. Ed says there are 2 or 3 jars left. ELE is interested in this information. The children say together that they are ready to share. Are they sure? "Ilyazaging." Of course, Maenya exclaims and asks Ed again. "That's right, they can go and get it now," says Ed. "Then what are they waiting for? Let's go." "Ili declari zapiri." Lania apologizes to Mr. Doridon for the disturbance. The children run away, and Mr. Doridon, in doubt, asks the worker, "Isn't this girl the Count's daughter?" The worker replies, "Maybe we should report her to the castle." Ele is very happy and thanks her new acquaintances for their help, especially since she has heard that such jam is very rare. They run down the street, and Elle says she can't believe they have this jam. She thinks these children must be from a wealthy family, and now they are running into the slums. Ele sees the surroundings and asks what happened in this area. Maenya explains that this is Rainierda. Rainierda? Ele says in surprise. She knew, of course, that there were slums, but she didn't think she would end up in one. She remembers when her father was briefed on the economic situation in the county. They said that it was necessary to be on guard with Rainierda, otherwise it would affect Tri's financial situation. Her father replied that refugees could continue to come, but their mercy was not infinite. Her mother said that slums were parasites eating away at a healthy city. Ele didn't know what the word parasite meant at the time. Father was very upset when he was told about the situation in the slums. This problem troubled him. Ele, Ed, and the others continue walking through the slums. The voices of unknown children begin to be heard on either side. There's a beautiful girl here. Who is she? A group of kids, standing nearby, start shouting questions. Ed, who is she? Asks one of the boys. Hey, are you rich? Give us something, shouts another. Is she a city girl? Asks a third. Ele wonders who these kids are. Ed tells the children that Ele is Maenya's client and apologizes. Then the children shouted that since she was a client, there was nothing they could do. They expressed their hope that they would meet again. Ele thinks these kids have financial problems. She feels sorry for the poor refugees, but slums are parasites of the city. She finally understands what slums are. At the same time, she wonders why Maenya led her through the slums. But Ele dismisses her negative thoughts, confident that this is just a road that will lead them to an expensive mansion. And then Maenya announces that they have arrived. She says that this is their home and points to a modest shack. Ele sees everything and realizes that she was wrong in her thoughts. Maenya asks her to come into the house. Ele still doesn't believe it and asks again, is it true that they live in a shack? Maenya meets her mother at the entrance and tells her that they have returned. Her mother is surprised because they have never brought anyone from the city before. Mom invites Ele in and asks if the guest is surprised by how dirty the slums are compared to the city. Ele replies that she is. But it's cleaner than she expected. Ele continues. She asks if the sign she saw outside says hospital and if it's true. And can people be treated in a place like this? She wonders. Mom replies that it's definitely not the best business. But there are sick and injured people everywhere. Doesn't this place deserve free treatment? Says Mom. Ele asks in surprise, free? Everyone has the right to be healthy, Mom replies. Maenya calls Ele to follow her. Maenya climbs onto the shelf for the jam. Ed asks her to be careful. She takes out a jar and says, here, Ele, this is the jam, passing it from hand to hand. Ele takes the jar and says, this is it, unable to believe she has found it. But what is expensive jam doing in the slums? She asks. Ed explains that they made it themselves. They made it themselves? It is again. Yes, Maenya replies cheerfully. They all climb onto the roof of the house, and Ed begins to explain that there was nothing like this in the slums, so they had to do everything themselves. They stand on the roof, and Ed looks into the distance and says that they had to walk through the meadow they can see and further into the forest. It's the northern forest. Isn't it dangerous there? Ele asks. That's where the monsters come from, right? She continues. Yes, it was dangerous, Ed replies. He continues, saying they had to fight a goblin. Lania adds that she thought they were going to die. Ele is fascinated by the adventure story, even though they're the same age as her. It is again. That's right, Ed replies and pours tea into cups. However, they went there to pick herbs for tea. He continues. And Maenya says that thanks to the jam, she met Ele. Ele says she doesn't like herbal tea, but she really likes their tea and asks for more. She says that their tea has a genuine and delicate flavor. The jam they worked so hard to make is really delicious, and she asks permission to take some more with her. Of course, take it, Maenya agrees. Maenya starts screaming in fright. A unit of county guards enters their yard. They are well-equipped soldiers in full combat gear with helmets and protective armor. One of the guards sees the children on the roof and shouts, there they are. Lady Eleanor, the unit commander, addresses her. What happened? Why? Asks a frightened Ed. Lady Eleanor? Lania shouts in confusion. Ele, she says calmly, they found me. She addresses the guards and says that her friends are here, that she is here of her own free will with her friends. She will not tolerate rude treatment of them. Ele, minha adresse is her. She replies that she apologizes to Maienya for not saying that she is Eleanor Beckenbauer, the daughter of Count Tri. The Count's daughter, Ed says, sweat beading on his forehead. The person who will rule this city. Maienya exclaims. A real princess. Lania says. At sunset, when it is already getting dark, they say goodbye. ELE says that today was a very good day, and she expresses her gratitude to all her new friends. She holds a jar of jam in her hands and continues to speak, saying she is ashamed that she did not tell them anything in advance. But she saw the slums with her own eyes, and the reality is different from what she had heard before. Even in Rainy Urda, which is so condemned by city dwellers, there are good people like them. She definitely wants to meet them again. With the light they radiate, they will surely change Rainy Urda. Maienya shouts to her, "See you later." And Ed ponders the word she said. They will change Rainy Urda. Harris distributes food to the children of Rainy Urda for their work during the day. The children, who are constantly undernourished, are simply happy with this procedure. Harris asks everyone not to panic. He promises that everyone will get an equal share regardless of their age. Harris asks someone to take some food to Zern. The crowd shouts that he did not work today. Harris says that Zern is sick and needs help. Harris heads home, and one of his friends shouts from the crowd, "See you tomorrow, Harris." Harris turns around and says goodbye until tomorrow. He is happy and cheerful when he gets home. Harris greets his grandmother and says he bought some beans. He promises to cook dinner quickly. In the house, he sees his grandmother lying in bed, feeling ill and moaning. Harris rushes to her to find out what happened. The Mel Medical Center is the only medical facility in the slums. In a world with a chronic shortage of doctors, it could have been opened in a wealthier neighborhood, but the elven family that runs it seems particularly attached to this place. Until now, the white mage Meln ran the clinic alone, but recently her only daughter, Maienya, also learned rudimentary white magic and began to help out at the clinic. As soon as they learned the information, they quickly arrived at Harris's house and began treating his grandmother. After a short time, she felt better. Harris asks if she is feeling better. She says that she fell on her way home and injured her leg. Of course, she would love to never grow old, but as they say, old age is no joy. The grandmother thanks Meln and Maienya for coming to her aid. Meln replies that there is no need to thank them. Maienya says that it is no problem at all. Meln says that they managed to set the broken bone, but she needs to stay in bed for at least a week. Grandma is horrified by this news. She says, "What's the point of lying in bed if there's no food at home?" Harris asks her not to worry. He will try to solve this problem. Ed learns about Harris's dire situation, the lack of food, and the complete devastation in the house. He is very concerned about his family situation. MC recalls ELE's words about Rainy Urda being considered the poorest neighborhood in the city. ELE is interested in possible solutions to this problem. She would like to change life in the slums. Ed believes that even if she sincerely wants to change all this, it is unclear how to lift people out of poverty. Melon says goodbye to Harris's grandmother, who advises her to follow all the instructions. She and Maienya leave Harris's house, and Maienya shouts that they have done everything. Ed is waiting for them at the exit. In the courtyard of the house, he unexpectedly meets Harris. Harris asks why he is here. He takes Ed's dagger and asks if he wants to show off his new things. Ed says that if Harris has money problems, he is willing to help. Harris tells him to shut up. He says he won't accept Ed's help and asks him not to act like a fool. Harris turns away and walks off, shouting that if Ed has extra money, he should buy something useful for himself. Meanwhile, Lania arrives at the Tri-Adventure Guild's Magic Stone exchange point. She is greeted by Maclasia. She asks where the pure-blooded elf is. Lania hands over the stones for exchange and says that she is representing Maienya, as she was unable to come in person. Maclasia looks at Lania and thinks she is kind of boring. There is noise and commotion on the first floor of the guild. Lania and Maclasia approach the staircase railing, look down, and Lania asks why everyone is rushing somewhere. On the first floor, one of the adventurers gives the command to go on patrol. Someone reports that Team Number 2 has returned. Teams 3 and 4 are called to assemble. Maclasia says that this has been going on for some time. She says they have information that a gang of robbers has infiltrated Tri. Lania asks again, a gang of robbers? Maclasia says that according to the information available, this gang is cunning and vicious, and they raid towns in the south. She continues, so all the adventurers are standing guard in 3 shifts. Maclasia says that according to rumors, they even capture city children and use them as bait. She continues, saying that she is confident that noble, pure-blooded elves will not fall for their persuasion. At the same time, Maclasia warns them to be careful, because it is children like Lania who fall for their deception. Lania returns home and tells Maienya and Ed everything she learned at the Adventurers Guild over lunch. Ed turns to Maienya and warns her to be careful. Maienya replies that they shouldn't worry. Everything will be fine. Ed hears this response and indignantly shouts that he is not satisfied with such an answer, that this problem is actually very serious. Maenya shouts back that everything will definitely be fine. Lania declares that Maenya is too confident. Maenya has nothing to say in response to this reproach. Ed calmly sips his tea and thinks about how to solve the problem with the robbers. Ed recalls the words Harris said at their last meeting, when he asked if he had any extra money. Lania sees that Ed is deep in thought and asks what's wrong. He replies that he's a little worried. Ed shares information about Harris. Maenya runs off to look for Harris. After a while, she comes back running and yells that Harris is nowhere to be found. Lania asks why they are looking for him. Ed does not want to answer this question. Lania asks if Harris is a member of a criminal gang. Ed asks her not to shout and not to tell anyone about it. He says he can't confirm this information for sure right now. Lania asks if Ed said something about getting money. He replies, yes. If so, he says and pauses to think. Maenya says that this is bad news and that they need to find Harris. We have to stop him, says Ed. He says they need to hurry to find Harris faster. Maenya and Lania agree. Together and separately, they begin to run through the courtyards of the village and meet various inhabitants of Rhaenyra. After a while, they meet up. Maenya asks if they have found anyone. Lania replies that no one has been found yet. Ed runs up and reports that the gatekeeper saw Harris walking towards the city. Lania asks about the children who often accompany Harris. Ed says he saw them hiding, but didn't have time to follow them. Maenya says it's suspicious and wonders if something bad will happen. At that moment, voices are heard in the distance. Maenya says she hears people talking about Harris. She rushes off, shouting that she can hear someone talking about him. Lania calls after her and tries to stop her. Ed and Lania rush to catch up with Maenya. Maenya says she recognizes the voice. It's Ryou's child. And she shouts, "Over here," and starts running even faster. Ed and Lania run with her. On the way, Maenya says she heard words about a target, a mansion, and a key signal in the conversation. And it will be in the evening. Maenya continues. Lania screams, "Is it really going to be a robbery?" Ed says Harris is completely serious. The fool. Ahead of them, they see the silhouettes of Harris and two children. They start calling out to him. Harris hears the shouting and tells the children to leave, saying he will stay behind. The children agree and run away. Harris stops and turns around. He sees Ed and the girls running towards him. Harris shouts out a question. What does the black-haired man want with him? Ed says he knows about Harris's need for money. He continues, saying that if Harris is planning something bad, he asks him not to do it. Harris laughs and asks, "Bad? What do you mean?" He says they must have misunderstood him, right? Ed yells at Harris not to be a fool. He says that Maenya heard their conversation. She heard them planning the robbery. Ed continues. What? Harris asks again. He blushes and sweat breaks out on his face. Harris is ready to fight. Ed yells that, as he expected, he will be his opponent. Ed tells Lania to run, and he himself is ready to pounce on Harris. Harris grabs Lania's arm as she tries to run away and yells that he won't let her go. Ed lunges at Harris. A fist fight breaks out. Maenya runs up to them and calls out, "Ed, Lania." The fight stops. Harris asks why Ed is trying to stop him. He says that Ed is a black-haired boy who brings misfortune. Ed shouts, "No, Harris, that's not true," as he puts his hand on the hilt of his dagger. Harris's determined gaze is fixed on Ed. He asks if Ed is seriously going to stop him, if he is seriously going to fight him. It's not for nothing that they say black-haired people bring trouble, Harris adds. He tells Ed to get lost. He's not going to back down from his plans anyway. Harris says he needs money right now and has no other choice. Ed takes a step toward Harris, dropping his dagger. Lania tries to stop him by shouting. Ed delivers a sharp blow to Harris's head with his right hand, shouting that he does not bring misfortune and demanding that he stop saying that. Harris strikes back at Ed and shouts that as soon as he appeared, everything went wrong. Lania and Maenya watch the scuffle from the sidelines. Maenya asks what to do. Lania suggests using her fire magic abilities. A cry rings out, "Harris!" With cries of, "Hey, Harris!" the children run away, followed by a huge crowd of armed men. The children shout that they have called the adventurers from a guild. Sometime later, an award ceremony is held at the Adventurers Guild. Mr. Hophelm presides over the ceremony. He presents a cash reward for the information that led to the capture of the criminal. Miclasia tells Ed and the company sitting at the table that Harris and the boys noticed a suspicious man luring children into the slums. They accepted the stranger's offer of cooperation and called the soldiers for help, thus capturing the dangerous criminal. At this time, Harris and the boys accept congratulations and rejoice. They are very happy with what they have been able to do. Miclasia asks Ed and the others what they're going to do now. Maenya says she is glad they didn't mess up. Ed gets up from the table and walks over to Harris. He apologizes for doubting him. Harris turns around and says that's why he asked him to leave. And Ed thought he was going to rob someone. He continues. Ed honestly admits that this was indeed the case. Harris shouts out in dissatisfaction, "Hey." A young adventurer intervenes in the conversation and asks them to stop arguing. He takes Ed and Harris by the shoulders and says that he would have thought the same thing if he had heard such a conversation. He continues, saying that there is no need to argue and that it would be better to start cooperating in the future. Agreed, he asks. Harris smirks at these words and asks if that's even possible. Ed thinks about it and has an idea. He turns to Harris and asks if he needs any help. In response, Harris gives Ed part of the bonus he received and says that it is their share. Time passes, and Harris is busy paying the slum children for the mushrooms they collected during the working day. He asks everyone not to worry because everyone will get an equal and fair share. Ed, Mainya, and Lania stand on a hill in the distance and watch this scene. Lania turns to Ed and says that he taught Harris how to make tea and many other things. Is he sure that Harris can be trusted? Ed says that everything is fine and there is no need to worry. He says that it is necessary to move from gathering to stable agricultural activity. In this case, they will not be able to do without labor, Ed continues. They watch Harris interact confidently with the children. Ed says that all the children love Harris, that he is more of a leader than Ed himself, and that he has a strict business-like outlook. Ed approaches the group of children surrounding Harris. Harris asks why Ed is looking at him like that. He says he will not express gratitude to Ed. MC replies that this has been an honest exchange of views and that it is necessary to stop feuding. Harris says that it is indeed time to stop this. Ed reflects that he remembers how ELE promised to change Rainierda, and he wonders what will come of these efforts. Ed, Mainya, and Lania leave. Mainya turns to Ed and asks if he noticed that Harris called him Ed, not black hair. Ed just smirks in response. A little time passes, and Ed and company head into the forest. He decides to try his hand at hunting. Mainya asks him to do his best and blesses him with luck using her magical abilities. The hunt is for rabbits. So it begins. Ed uses his dagger as a hunting tool. The rabbits turn out to be nimble creatures that never stay in one place. In a forest clearing, Ed starts chasing them, but they slip away from him at incredible speed. Mainya is very emotionally excited for Ed at this time, and she encourages him as much as possible. Ed is already exhausted, but he still can't catch a single animal. Lania, who is also watching the action, decides to use her fire magic. She realizes that Ed is not succeeding, that he lacks speed, and that if this continues, it will get dark and they will be left with nothing. Through their collective efforts, they manage to catch one animal for food, and they can return without empty hands. But Ed ends up feeling ashamed because he was unable to achieve a good result in the hunt. They take the game and move on because it is getting dark and they need to continue their journey quickly. And now they're already on the slope of the Eastern Mountain at the request of the guild. Their goal is to reach Watchtower Mountain. This small mountain is located northeast of Tri. At the top of the mountain stands a mountain tower where the Knights of Tri reside. The road to this mountain runs from Tri along the Elder River towards the Hellhorn Mountain Range. And so, at sunset, Ed, Mainya, and Lania reach Watchtower Mountain via mountain trails. The last few meters are difficult for them because the complex terrain, steep slopes, and accumulated fatigue take their toll. They are met at the site by adventurers, who are very happy that the support team, consisting of young adventurers, has safely reached its destination. The adventurers express their gratitude for the work done. Ed and the girls see some old acquaintances among those who have come to meet them. Mainya shouts a greeting, "Mr. Beast!" She asks what he is doing here. Beast says that he was showing his friend the location of his previous cache. He also performs the duties of a knight. Beast continues. He turns to the group and asks if they have traveled a long way and are probably hungry. Ed replies that of course they would not refuse a snack, especially since they brought some game with them that they managed to catch along the way. Beast and the adventurers help prepare dinner, including cooking rabbit meat. And so the whole company sits down at the table. Beast apologizes for the modest meal. But Ed, who remains optimistic, energetically expresses his gratitude for being taught how to butcher a rabbit, and now he will be able to do it all himself. Mainya sits at the table with a sour expression on her face. Lania turns to her and tries to find out what happened. Mainya replies that she doesn't like meat. Because meat is tough and tasteless, she continues. Ed intervenes in the conversation and explains that Mainya had only tried meat at home before, and it was dried meat. He offers her some freshly cooked rabbit meat and brings a piece to her mouth. She resists and refuses. Ed asks Mainya to behave herself and puts the piece of meat in her mouth. She tries to spit it out, but in the end, she starts chewing. Mainya chews the meat and exclaims with delight that it is juicy, tender, and delicious. She asks if it is really meat. Ed smiles and replies that meat tastes just like that. Maenya asks for seconds. Everyone present offers her more to eat. Lania is simply delighted with the taste of the rabbit. After dinner, the whole group goes outside. Ed sees that some kind of pipe has been built next to the hut. He asks what it is. Beast asks if they are really interested. Ed says that it is interesting and he would like to hear an explanation for all this. He thinks that the story will be interesting for everyone. They all go up to the balcony and Beast begins his story. He turns to Ed and says that he probably knows about the road behind these mountains in Aldania. Beast points in the direction with his hand. Ed asks if this is the city where Lania's parents are from. Beast replies that he is absolutely right. He asks them to pay attention to the rising smoke. Maenya shouts that she can see the smoke and that it must be a forest fire. Ed asks if it is a signal fire. Beast smiles and says that Ed is very quick-witted. Lania stands there surprised, her mouth open. Beast says that there is a hut similar to theirs along the road, and it is also sending smoke signals. He goes on to say that white smoke means there are no monsters. All messages are relayed to the Count. However, this requires an additional journey on horseback lasting several days, says Beast with a smile. Isn't that amazing? He asks. Maenya shouts that it's totally cool. At that moment, Ed yells, wait. And Lania tries to get everyone's attention with a cry of, look. She says she sees smoke of a completely different color. Several days pass. The events take place near the walls of the city of Tri. The city gates open, and a whole column of horse-drawn carts enters the city. It is the returning caravan. The residents of Tri actively greet the returnees. Many of the relatives have not seen each other for a long time, so everyone rushes to hug each other. Lania sees her mom and dad and runs to them with joy and shouts. Her father sees Lania and greets her enthusiastically. Lania shouts, welcome back, and throws her arms around her father's neck. Her father picks her up, hugs her, and says that she has grown and looks great. Ed and Maenya stand and watch what is happening. Ed says that the unusual color of the smoke they saw meant the return of the caravan. Maenya notes that Lania looks very happy. A grand celebration begins. Everyone raises their glasses and thanks everyone for their efforts in rebuilding Aldania. Maenya and Lania serve delicious festive dishes to the residents. They invite everyone to enjoy the feast. Among the delicacies is rabbit meat, which Maenya prepared herself. Lania treats her parents. Her mother tries the rabbit meat and says that it is quite tasty, even licking her fingers. Lania boasts and says that she prepared the seasonings for the dishes. Her father comments on her words and announces that thanks to this, Lania will always be able to get married. He turns to Ed and asks if he will marry Lania. Ed pretends not to hear the question. Lania asks her father to stop talking about this topic. Her father laughs and says he is just joking. He says that Lania is very sharp and a good cook. Lania replies that she understands everything. Maenya grabs Ed's clothes and tries to hold him back. He turns around and asks Maenya what's wrong. At that moment, someone addresses Lania's father. Two boys approach with questions. One of them asks, did you go to Aldania, uncle? The second one asks, what kind of place is it? Lania asks if it's true that it's a city where no one wants to live. Maenya comes up and says she wants to know too. A large crowd of children gathers around, all eager to know the answer. Lania's father looks around at the crowd and says that it means everyone wants to listen. He begins to explain everything in order. The city of Aldania is located around a large lake in the center of a mountain range. It is a very beautiful place. As everyone knows, he continues. A horde of monsters enter the city. As a result, the city was completely evacuated. Demonic miasma polluted the land, and the trees and soil rotted. He says that the people who fled the city stopped at this place and founded Ryou, but he did not abandon his hometown. His team went to Aldania to restore order. As a result, they managed to replace the contaminated soil and free the creatures captured by miasmas. To do all this, they had to use purification magic, he continues. At the beginning of the work, his team set up camp on the shore of Lake Elda, where it was not easy to exist. Gradually, the camp area expanded. He says that, for example, the eastern shore has been almost completely restored, and the idea of a city that is impossible to live in is becoming a thing of the past. Questions begin to pour in. Someone asks if this is really true. Another says that he will be able to return home. Lania wonders if they will be able to return to Aldania. Her father responds firmly that they will all return. Father asks them not to get too excited because they're only talking about a small part of the area that has been restored. Lania joins the conversation, saying that if the reconstruction continues, eventually order will be restored everywhere. Won't it? Grandmother Harris, who is also present during the conversation, says that then she will be able to show her grandchildren her city. Harris, who is standing nearby, declares that then she will have to live a long time. Everyone starts chanting loudly, long live Aldania, long live Ryou. Hooray! Maenya says that everyone looks very happy. That's good, says Melon's mother, standing next to her. That's right, says her father, Guido. He begins to cry and says that he is very happy to see Ed and Maenya standing next to him. Ed tries to calm him down. Maenya says that her father's tears seem to be flowing on their own. Guido replies that he is crying with joy. But Ed is in high spirits regardless, feeling that he has never seen the residents of Rainierda so happy. Although the events taking place cannot be called ordinary. The active company moves to the Doridon store. The owner of Doridon store says he is not sure that this story should cause much joy. Everyone listening to him freezes in anticipation. He continues that even if all the events are called reconstruction, money is needed to get started and do a lot. At that moment, Maenya shouts that she has money and holds out her hand with a coin in her palm. Lania's father says that Rainierda's economic situation is not sufficient to support the reconstruction project, which has already been delayed too long. Lania asks from behind her father's back what they should do. At this moment, Maenya, with the coin in her palm, asks Ed how much money she has. Ed looks at her and sighs sadly. Her father says that Eldania's recovery is still only halfway complete, and if Rainierda cannot bear the burden, they will all go under. Lania is worried and hopes that this will not happen. Guido asks Doridon if there is anyone they can turn to for help. He replies that at present they cannot get a loan from anyone, unless the people from the slums themselves offer help. Lania's father turns to Guido and asks if he should appeal to the supreme authority. Guido replies that he cannot help, as he does not have any good connections at the moment. Maenya asks in surprise, "Is that really true?" "Yes," Guido replies. Doridon sadly notes that they have no options. He props his head up with his hand and leans on the counter, sighing sadly. At that moment, Ed starts shouting, "Hey, hey, hey, stop panicking." He starts saying that they're all adults here, so why is everyone so depressed? He energetically declares that everyone is counting on them. They are everyone's last chance. He suggests thinking about how to turn that hope into their strength. "Well done, Ed," says Lania's father. "That's right," says Lania. She continues that if they need money, they can all earn a lot together. Maenya shouts that she will work too. She is ready to make tea and jam. Lania's father immediately asks, "She made jam? Is that true?" Maenya replies shyly, "Well, yes, what's wrong with that?" They decide to go as a group to see the place where the apples were picked. After overcoming all obstacles, they reach their destination. Lania's father examines the apple trees and says that he never imagined that fruit trees grew wild here. Maenya says that she found this orchard while searching for treasure. Lania says that Eldania used to be a large city where fruit was grown. Her father confirms this information and admits that he himself used to run a fruit farm. He looks at the wild apple trees and continues, saying that he himself would dream of reviving the plantation business if he saw something like this. He says that perhaps fruit orchards could be a lifeline for Rainierda's economy. Guido asks him if he really thinks so. But Lania's father continues to argue that no, they cannot. They do not have the land because orchards require large areas of land in suitable conditions. This place alone is not enough, he concludes. Then we need to acquire land, Ed declares. After a short time, they arrive in the capital. Ed heads for the Count's castle. His companions try to stop Ed, as they do not believe that the previous conversation was serious. Ed asks again, don't they need the land? Lania's father replies that yes, they do, but Ed declares that there is no other way, as the entire territory belongs to the Count. Then, they need to go talk to the Count. Ed explains. Time passes, and Maenya, who is with her friends, shouts that she understands. They are going to build a school, and immediately she asks everyone, what is a school? The whole company laughs loudly at her. Oh, Maenya, exclaims Ed. Lania says that you shouldn't brag about your knowledge if you don't actually know anything. ELE says that her parents would be shocked by Maenya, and Meln apologizes for not raising his daughter properly. There's a school in Tri. It is an institution where, on weekdays, a priest teaches reading, arithmetic, general rules, and morality to children who attend the Lafferly Church. In Tri, where most residents are believers, the literacy rate is high thanks to church schools. However, the church closes its doors to poor families who cannot pay alms. As a result, the level of education in the slums is much lower than in the urban areas within the walls. A little earlier, the following events took place. Ed and company arrived at the Count's castle to talk to him. At this time, Yeli also joined them for a conversation. She apologized to everyone for being significantly late, but Maenya and Lania cheered her up and said that they all had high hopes for her. After Yeli left to meet with her father, the Lord, everyone waited impatiently for her return. When she returned, the first question they asked her was how she had dared to break through to the Count without prior agreement. After all, if anyone else had behaved in this way, they would have been considered a criminal. She replied that she really wanted to meet the Lord. Then she moved on to the main issue. Ele said that the Lord had agreed to transfer the land for the gardens. Guido asked if this was true. Ele replied that it was of course, but there were some conditions. She continued. The harvest would have to be sold primarily in Tri, and the business would continue to develop even after Aldania's restoration. She continued. In addition, jam must be made and sold to her every year. Ele says jokingly, turning to Maenya. Maenya says that Ele loves her jam very much. I think that was the deciding factor. Ed joins the conversation. Ele replies that this is true and she will not deny it. And the last condition set by her father. As she says this, she recalls the conversation with her father. Ele then asked, the construction of a school in Rainy Urda, right? That's right, her father replied. He said that agriculture alone was not enough to raise the standard of living. Ele told him that it was true that education had helped the city and that this fact had been proven by history. Her father agreed with this. However, he said that if they tried to use public money to build a school in the slums, they would face a negative reaction from citizens, who would ask why they should give money to poor strangers. Father continued, saying that in this regard, creating their own gardens was a good opportunity for development. This would allow slum dwellers to earn money and get rid of the stigma of being poor. But it was necessary to see how seriously the organizers would approach solving these problems. After this meeting, the whole group went to the Doridon store to discuss the issue again. Guido and Father Lania provided Mr. Doridon with information about the construction of the school and the conditions that would be offered in connection with it. Ed then expressed his opinion that he would like the school to be built. He said that most children from the slums cannot read or write, and even if they can, they are very poor at it. Like Maenya, Ed added. Maenya disagreed and said she could count. She began counting 1, 2, 3 many. This caused everyone around her to laugh. Ed continued, saying that it was also necessary to defend against robbers because there had recently been riots caused by a group of looters. Doridon objected, asking not to be misunderstood, saying that he was not against the construction of the school. He calmly said that he was concerned about human resources. For example, one of the first questions was who to trust to be a teacher. Guido, who had been standing silently until then, said that this was not a problem. He says that he himself is ready to become that person. Maenya says that he did not do a very good job as a father. Ed says that Maenya does not trust her father very much. But Guido, grasping the hilt of his sword, says that he actually once dreamed of becoming a teacher and that it is much better than wielding a sword. He continues to say that he can become a teacher, but it is also necessary to equip classrooms and outdoor training areas. Guido concludes that they must try to get the Lord's attention. Of course, Ed agrees. Harris, who is present during the conversation, says that he is ready to recruit children. He takes a roll call of those who want to study. Ed shouts, "It." MC agrees. He then calls out Maenya. She also agrees. Next is Lania. She has no objections either. In the end, only 3 people showed up to study. Harris is shocked. After a short time, Harris gathers the students again. Everyone is there, Ed, Maenya, and Lania. Harris is upset that there's still only 3 people. He announces that the Lord does not recognize them as a real school. Ed asks if this is really true. Harris says that they need to gather many more people. Ed, Maenya, and Lania set off in search of new students. They run through the slums and call out to the children. Maenya shouts that school has started. Lania promises that everyone will be taught. Ed calls everyone to follow him. But all their efforts are in vain. Some children ask what school is. Others are interested in whether school will give them money. Still others do not want to study at all. Tired, they stop on the main street near a crowd of children who have come to get work from the rich townspeople. Maenya says that they are unable to attract children to school. Something must be done, Lania declares. At that moment, someone calls out behind them, "What are you kids doing?" They turn around and see Harris standing in front of them. He explains that he is coming from Melon Hospital and sees that they look terrible. Ed tells him about the problems they have encountered. Harris listens attentively and approaches the crowd of children looking for work. He shouts at them, asking if they are satisfied with the wages they are paid. He says there is nothing wrong with studying at school. Harris continues, saying that with wisdom and knowledge, one can earn good money. They have come up with the idea of picking tea, and he points to Ed and company. Harris laughs and says that they need to study, otherwise someone as smart as him will take everything away, while Harris points his thumb at Ed. He announces that he is going to school himself and asks what the children are going to do. Questions come from the crowd. What do they need to do? One of the boys says that if Harris is going to school, then he will too. Shouts begin to rise, then he, and he too. Forward. The crowd shouts. The children run away as a group. Maenya shouts after them that they will see each other soon. Ed thanks Harris for his help, but he replies that he did it not for Ed, but for Rainy Urda. Ed says he understands. Harris says there are other children. He will call them and come back. With these words, he runs away. Ed shouts after him, "Okay." The next day, in the morning, Harris meets a huge crowd of children near the school. He greets everyone and says he is glad to see them. He suggests starting with the alphabet, because they want to understand what is written in the store, right? Harris asks the children. So the first lesson begins. Guido teaches the alphabet lesson. He writes the letters of the alphabet on the board and tells them how each letter is pronounced. Guido asks the students to repeat after him. He praises the students for their hard work and desire to learn well. But at some point, he starts to cry. Maenya, who is present in the classroom, immediately turns to him. She asks why he is crying. Does he not like working at the school? He is a teacher and should not behave this way. Maenya continues. He replies that this is not the reason. Maenya wonders if something has happened to him or if he is feeling unwell. One of the boys starts crying too, and he is embarrassed to explain. His stomach starts to rumble, and he says he wants to eat. Another student's stomach starts to rumble too. He is also hungry. The third student feels the same, and so do the others. Guido is confused and doesn't know what to do. At that moment, a shout approaches the school. Hey, hey, is Doridon and his wife bringing a hot pot of food on a cart. They invite the boys and girls to come and meet them. The children run up and try to find out what it is. Doridon explains that it is school lunch and begins to pour soup into cups and treat the students. Ed approaches Doridon and asks why he is doing this. He replies that he has decided to help organize the school. The lunch is eagerly devoured by the students, and many get seconds. Doridon stands with Ed, looks at the satisfied children eating their lunch, and says that now they are treating the children, but perhaps in time, the grown-up children will return to them as customers. Ed says he understands. Doridon announces that as long as the children are studying, they will receive free lunches. Everyone cheers loudly. The next day, many children from the slums run to school. Lania continues to recruit students for the school and tells everyone that the school provides free lunches. This information causes genuine excitement among the children of Rainierda. Thus began the history of the first school in Rainierda. Maenya teaches math at the school, Ed teaches biology, and magic is Lania's prerogative. These subjects are the most popular among the children at the school. The children also enjoy physical education classes. After classes, everyone goes to practice agricultural work. Later, a delicious free lunch awaits everyone. The number of students at the school is steadily growing. A metallic bell rings, and the students rush from the street into the school. The start of the lesson is announced by a bell that appeared on the roof, which was made by the students themselves to make it easier to remind everyone when the lesson starts. This makes everything feel like a real school. Ele, who has arrived to inspect the school, praises him for his quick thinking. Ed replies that he is glad she likes it. She asks if he has heard the news. Ed asks what news. Ele looks mysteriously at MC and says that if he doesn't know anything, it would be better to see everything with his own eyes. She suggests organizing a real school trip. And so, on the day of the excursion, all the students, after traveling a long way along mountain trails, come out into a blooming valley. A beautiful garden appears before their astonished eyes. Ele announces that thanks to their joint efforts, the Rainierda farm has been created. The whole group descends to the garden and enters the grounds. Guido, who is among the accompanying adults, says that the children's families and their neighbors work here, and he suggests that they go in and greet the workers. Lania sees her father and cries out with joy. He greets Lania, Ed, and the others in return. Ed turns his head in admiration and says, "This is amazing." He wonders how such a huge number of trees could grow in such a short time. Lania's father explains that former Eldania magicians who worked on farms came to their aid. He says that sales have already begun and offers them a taste of the results of their hard work. The father says that they brought them surviving seedlings from Eldania, so the fruit should be delicious. He asks the children for their opinion on the quality of the harvest. The children happily begin to taste the apples. They exclaim with delight that the fruit is very sweet. Time passes, and Rainierda slowly transforms. It is already beginning to get dark. Ed, Maenya, and Guido return home, enjoying delicious fruit from Rainierda's own gardens along the way. Ed says that the school and farm are developing well. Maenya agrees. Guido concurs with them. He wants everything to always be this way. At the entrance to the house, they are met by an alarmed Meln. She runs out to meet them and says that strange events have occurred. They ask her what happened, frightened. She leads everyone into the house. They see a large number of gold coins lying on the table and ask if it is all for medical services. Meln reasons that it is more likely that many people from the farm have started to earn good money and have begun to pay for her services. Maenya happily tries to touch the coins. It is the first time she has seen so much gold. Meln asks what they should do with such a large sum. Guido says it's not an easy decision. Maybe we should return it? Melon wonders. Mayenya joins the conversation and asks why it's a problem. She reasons that money is a sign of gratitude, right? Her mother's work must have made the residents of Rainierta happy. She says that if they gave it to her, she would definitely be happy. That's right, says Meln. Mayenya concludes that the money is a token of gratitude from all the residents of Rainierta. Guido suggests thinking about how to spend the money wisely and do it for the benefit of everyone. Exactly, adds Meln. Ed asks everyone to listen to him. He says that this situation concerns all visitors to their hospital. He has an idea that everyone might like. Thanks for watching. Write your feedback in the comments. If you like the story, please like and subscribe. See you soon.